Imagine two individuals, each with $5,000 in the bank. 5 years later, one remains at the same level, while the other has built a functioning financial system. The difference isn't luck or IQ. It is the decision made the moment they acquired that capital. Currently, U.S. inflation is eroding purchasing power by 3 to 4% annually, and credit card interest rates have soared past 20%. While $5,000 isn't life-changing on its own, the strategy you apply to it can be. This isn't just about saving, it's about protection, growth, and leverage. Most people mistake a savings account for a wealth-building tool, but its true purpose is protection, not growth. Understanding this distinction is the first step toward sharper financial decisions. Why your high-yield savings account might actually be losing you money. High-yield online accounts currently offer around 4 to 5% interest. While this seems positive, after accounting for 3 to 4% inflation, you are effectively standing still in terms of real value. In contrast, the S&P 500 has historically delivered nominal returns of 7 to 10%. Over 20 years, that gap represents the divide between mere comfort and true financial freedom. Cash should be viewed as a buffer against chaos. You need a structured approach. First, a starter emergency fund of $1,000 to $2,000 to avoid credit card debt during minor shocks. Second, a full reserve covering 3 to 12 months of living expenses, depending on your job stability. Since 60% of people cannot cover a $1,000 emergency, this foundation is vital. The one question you must answer before investing a single dollar. Before investing, you must address high-interest debt. Carrying a credit card balance at 25% APR while trying to grow money in the market is a losing battle. You are essentially bleeding out. Paying off a 25% interest debt is the mathematical equivalent of a guaranteed 25% return, which far exceeds the S&P 500's average. However, not all debt is equal. High-rate personal loans should be cleared aggressively, but low-interest debt, like a 3% mortgage or 5% student loans, allows for arbitrage. If your debt costs 4%, but your investments return 8%, keeping the debt while investing makes sense. If the gap isn't significant, always prioritize paying off the debt first to clear the mental and financial drag. How to calculate your real return and avoid the illusion of wealth. Once your debt is gone and your emergency fund is set, your goal shifts from defense to offense. You must understand the difference between nominal and real returns. If an investment grows by 6%, but inflation is 3%, your real return is only 3%. Ignoring this creates an illusion of growth without an actual expansion of purchasing power. For the S&P 500, the long-term real return, the part that actually matters, is usually between 5 and 7%. This compounding real return is more powerful than most realize. For example, $5,000 invested at a 5% real return grows to roughly $13,000 in 20 years without any extra help. How adding just $100 a month can transform your financial future. While $5,000 alone grows over time, adding a modest $100 monthly contribution changes the trajectory entirely. Over 20 years at a 5% real return, that same starting point results in approximately $54,000 in purchasing power. To start, open a zero-commission brokerage account and automate your contributions to remove the burden of monthly decision-making. Commit to learning 15 to 30 minutes a day about markets, as financial literacy compounds just like money. When deciding where to put your money, think in layers rather than making a single bet. A solid framework involves diversification across different asset classes to balance risk and growth. A beginner's guide to asset allocation and smart diversification. A reasonable framework for beginners might include 40% in broad, low-fee S&P 500 or total market ETFs for reliable exposure. 20% in quality individual stocks you understand. 15% in REITs for real estate exposure. And 10% in an alternative asset like Bitcoin as a non-correlated store of value. Keep the remaining 15% liquid for short-term needs or new opportunities. A core principle is dollar-cost averaging, investing a fixed amount regularly regardless of market conditions. This prevents the trap of trying to time the market, which even professionals struggle to do. Remember, bear markets happen every few years. Those who stay the course win, while those who panic sell lose. Why a car can be your biggest asset or your worst liability. The stock market isn't the only place for capital to work. For some, a hands-on approach builds business instincts faster. The key is asking, does this purchase put money in my pocket or take it out? A car used for rideshare income is an asset. A financed car sitting in a driveway is a liability. With $5,000, you can invest in income-producing equipment. Renting out event gear like tables and tents, or power washing and landscaping equipment serves consistent local demand. Photography and video gear can also be rented out via digital platforms. These investments can often be recovered within 3 to 6 months. Why your income ceiling is actually higher than you think. Micro-entrepreneurship is more accessible than ever due to digital infrastructure. Unlike market investments, a business built on skill has uncapped upside potential. However, $5,000 is merely a starting point. The real goal is building the capacity to invest consistently by addressing both sides of the equation: where money goes and how much you generate. Financial freedom relies on 3 factors: growing income, increasing your savings rate, and expanding your asset base. On the income side, consider freelancing or selling digital products. Skill stacking, combining rare complementary abilities, allows you to command a premium in the labor market. In the early stages of wealth building, your savings rate matters more than your income level. Consider 2 people. One earns $50,000 and invests 10%, $417 per month, while the other earns $70,000 but only invests 5%, $292 per month. After 5 years at a 5% real return, the lower earner has $28,000, while the higher earner has only $19,500. After 10 years, the gap widens to $64,500 versus $45,000. The first person now has capital for a down payment or a business, while the second is still playing catch-up. The true wealth-building machine is the percentage of income you consistently deploy. Numbers and strategy are only half the story. Consistency requires a deeper shift in perspective. Lasting wealth comes when you change how you see yourself, moving from being someone who spends to someone who allocates capital is a fundamental identity shift. This identity, more than any specific tactic, determines your long-term financial behavior. Building capital is vital, but keeping it is equally challenging. You must be prepared for the threats that can derail your progress, ranging from external deception to internal impatience. Managing your emotions is just as much of a financial skill as picking the right stock.
The financial world is full of red flags, like guaranteed monthly returns or no-risk, high-yield opportunities. If it sounds too clean, it's likely fraudulent. Beyond scams, your own body is a financial factor. Medical debt is a leading cause of bankruptcy in the U.S. Physical and mental health are central to your ability to earn and execute your plan. Finally, beware of impatience. Markets are volatile and can drop 20% to 40%. Investors who treat emotional regulation as a skill are the ones who survive these downturns to see the recovery. Diversification and a long-term perspective are the strategies that actually work. The power of $5,000 lies in what it represents: discipline, optionality, and strategic thinking. The sequence is straightforward. Protect yourself with an emergency fund. Eliminate high-interest financial drag. Put your capital to work. Build income streams. And guard your gains. This is a continuous way of operating, not a one-time event. Don't wait for a bigger number to start your journey. Financial freedom begins the moment your money stops being idle and starts being intentional. That moment can be right now. Start today by making a plan for your next move. Would you like me to help you create a specific budget or an asset allocation plan based on these principles?